Today, I'm going to recap a Korean melodrama film released in 2012 called Love 911. A doctor tries to seduce a firefighter to get him to testify on her behalf. But little did they know, fate has a little surprise for them. What will happen between them? Let's find out together. Kang-il is a firefighter who always tries his best to help and save someone's life. Kang-il lives alone after the death of his wife 3 years ago. He still carries the heavy grief, although it was years ago. He decided to live with his grief and rarely talks with others. The loss he had ever felt makes him determined to help anyone even though his life is also in danger. On the other side, there is a young and passionate doctor named Misu. She is a cardiac surgeon in the Ganshin hospital. One day, Misu fails to diagnose a woman properly. She recklessly accuses her husband of domestic abuse just after seeing a bruise on her hand. The husband has a lot of tattoos, and Misu stereotypically assumes him as an abusive husband, even though the bruise is actually a symptom of something else. But she also doesn't want to report him as the lawsuit process will become complicated. So she left the husband and the ill wife by only giving a prescription and refusing to do further checkups. This makes the husband a little bit mad. Because of the false diagnosis, the woman's condition is getting worse until she faints on the street. Kang-il's team comes to help her and brings her to the hospital. It turns out she got an aortic rupture that might lead to brain death. His husband is angry and breaks the hospital facility while he tries to search for Misu. Shortly after that, Kang-il comes to calm the husband. Kang-il quickly understands the husband's situation as he also has lost his wife. Therefore, Kang-il bravely approaches the furious husband and tries to calm him down even though he confronts and assaults Kang-il. This unfavorable situation leads Misu and her friend to undergo probation. The ill wife's husband decided to bring this case to trial and sue Misu and her team. The only way to end the probation and fight for herself against the prosecution is by asking Kang-il to sue back the husband because the husband hurt him that day at the hospital. That's why Misu decides to approach Kang-il. At their first meeting, Misu's request is easily rejected by Kang-il. He indeed rejects it because he understands the feeling of loss. Misu insists so hard, but Kang-il casts him away. Misu is a woman with a fiery spirit, and she won't give up easily. She tries again and cheekily seduces him into going out with her. But again, it fails. She then tries to threaten him by standing on the side of the bridge. It ends up in an awkward situation when he actually tries to save her from falling down. Let's just say, the wind did a good job there. She gets into trouble with the police because of that. But the smart and cheeky Misu finds her way and befriended the police. Instead of paying a fine, she registers her friend and herself to volunteer as a medical service paramedic firefighter. This way she can get the chance to seduce and convince Kang-il to sue the husband of the ill woman. After the first day of volunteering, the whole team enjoys drinking together. Misu asks Kang-il to drink more with just her. Kang-il absolutely refuses her invitation, but suddenly Misu faints in the middle of the street. Kang-il, who has traumatic memories of his late wife, immediately panics and carries Misu. A few moments later, Misu awakens like nothing has happened and cheerfully asks Kang-il to drink with her again. This time, Kang-il can't refuse it. In the restaurant, Kang-il drinks a lot and gets drunk. While drunk, he gets into a fight, then is caught by the police. At the police station, he goes crazy hugging a chair, which triggers chaos. His teammate comes to the rescue not long after that. On the morning, Misu sees Kang-il's late wife's picture in his car. They argue a bit about it when they almost hit a car. He brakes so hard, causing Misu to bang her head and bleed. Somehow they just laugh it out. After talking a bit more, she knows that Kang-il suffers from his grief. She tells him that sometimes people have to let someone go and move on to live a happier life in peace, just like when she lost her mother. Kang-il feels that Misu's words mean a lot to him. But suddenly Misu's phone rings from her mother and she instinctively says, "Mom." Knowing that the sad story was just a lie, Kang-il drags her out of his car and leaves her. One day, they have to handle a high-temperature gas leak at the warehouse. The warehouse has a particular door that can only be opened when they turn off the electricity. This type of door is mandatory because the warehouse is full of dangerous goods. Tragically, one of Kang-il's colleagues gets injured by the gas, so Misu directly comes and helps him. She has to treat him before they leave the scene, but she gets left behind because she has to organize her medical equipment. She runs to chase Kang-il and the other rescuers, but suddenly she faints again. No one realizes that Misu is gone until in the fire truck, Kang-il realizes that Misu is missing. He directly takes a U-turn and drives back to the warehouse. At the warehouse, he finds Misu and tries to wake her up and bring her out from the warehouse. He looks really worried. All of a sudden, the electricity turns back on, which makes the door locked. They are trapped in the warehouse. They try to warm themselves up while joking around. Things get more interesting between them, starting from mutual hatred. Now they look like lovers who care for each other. As time goes by, the temperature gets freezing, and they just can't warm themselves up anymore. As they feel hopeless on the brink of death, Misu asks him if he actually likes her. He says yes, maybe because he wants to keep their spirit up, or it's his true feeling. Misu then loses consciousness, so Kang-il uses his body warmth as his last resort to save her. The team shows up to rescue them not long after that. Since the warehouse tragedy, they often work together and get closer over time. In the middle of work, Misu faints again. Kang-il initiates a brief medical checkup to have an absolute explanation about Misu's condition, but the result turns out just fine. They then go to the beach. Under the beautiful sunset, they have a deep talk about their life, about what they had been through. Then over a night snack and some drinks, Kang-il shares some more stories about his late wife. This makes her understand his grief after losing his wife. They find comfort in each other when they share the most bitter things in their lives. Misu brings the drunk Kang-il to a hotel and observes him carefully as he mumbles about his late wife in his sleep. She lies beside him to comfort him. One thing leads to another. They end up having a passionate kiss in the morning, which starts their wonderful relationship. They often meet and spend time together as a couple. Kang-il looks happier when Misu's around. He starts to let go of his sadness. Nevertheless, their life as a couple indeed had ups and downs. One day, Misu accidentally walks into a room full of photos of Kang-il and his late wife. They look purely happy together. Misu starts to doubt her presence because she feels like she has become the third person between Kang-il and his late wife. On the other hand, the mistreated lady has officially been diagnosed with brain death. The doctor is going to turn off her life support soon. Misu becomes devastated after knowing this, and starts to reflect on her action. She then goes to Kang-il to share her story. Kang-il insists that she must face the problem instead of trying to avoid the charge. But Misu still tries to save her medical career, saying that she can save more lives if they forgive her mistake. This makes them have a heated argument, as Kang-il can't stand with a person who only cares about her life. On the following day, Misu goes back to the hospital. She notices a tiny crowd in front of the brain-dead wife's room. It turns out that the husband locks the door from inside. Misu opens the door forcibly and finds the husband trying to follow his wife to the afterlife. She is shocked and tries her best to help him. Luckily, after a desperate time, the husband returned to life. But it makes her feel more regret as she cries away. Another day, another accident. This day, the fireman is called to rescue the victims of an accident on the railway. Misu is still volunteering the rescue. After not seeing Kang-il for a long time, this accident brings them back together. They are again caught in a conflict about rescuing a seriously injured, nearly dead woman trapped in a car. Misu tells Kang-il that this woman has no possibilities to live. But Kang-il insists on helping her. Kang-il faces another problem when he has to help his friends remove a car from the railway because a train is about to pass. Kang-il is so dedicated yet stubborn. He helps the nearly dead woman, and in the thick of time, he runs to help the other firefighters to get the car off the railway. The evacuation is done dramatically, but the woman passed away in the ambulance on the way to the hospital anyway. The tension between Kang-il and Misu leads to the conclusion that they can't live together and they have to end their relationship now. There is no use holding this kind of relationship because their perspective of life is always different. They agree to live their own life, thus Misu resigns from volunteering as a paramedic firefighter. One day, Misu faints in front of her friend. Her friend directly brings Misu to undergo a full body scan to find out the reason why she keeps fainting. When the results come out, it is clear that Misu has a tumor in her brain. Fortunately, it's a benign tumor, so an operation can save her with a high chance of success. This shocking news makes Misu reflect on her life again and apologize to the husband of the brain-dead woman. The husband also conveys his gratitude for saving his life, but he honestly says that he can't forgive Misu because every time he sees his wife, he finds it hard to let her go. Misu regrets everything and cries. This led her to hand over her resignation letter. Misu then meets Kang-il at the firefighter station. They catch up a bit and go to a nearby church. She admits her stupidity when she misdiagnoses the brain-dead woman. She also expresses her love for Kang-il and regrets her actions that caused them to separate. Misu still loves him even though they can't be together anymore. Kang-il tries to process his feeling and just listens to her without saying anything as she says goodbye. When Kang-il returns to the firefighter station, he sees the other firefighters rushing to an emergency call, which Kang-il directly follows. They arrive in an almost collapsed basement, and they have to evacuate the people trapped inside. Without any hesitation, Kang-il enters the basement which is about to collapse. He finds someone buried under the basement rubble, and his leg stuck between the heavy building pillar. Kang-il and another firefighter can't lift the pillar. Some of the firefighters give suggestions to amputate the man's leg, but Kang-il can't bear it and rejects the suggestion. Then, they provide additional support pillars so that the building can withstand a bit when it collapses. The building is about to collapse, and all of the firefighters must leave the basement building immediately. Kang-il can't leave the man because he wants to help him although his life is at stake. As the construction began to collapse slowly, the pillar that had hit the man moved slightly, creating a gap that eventually gave a little space for his legs. Kang-il carries up the man and moves quickly, but he's too late. The collapsed building falls on him and the man. They are buried in the rubble. This incident caused the entire fighter to immediately search for Kang-il and the man's body. The radio also instantly broadcast the latest news about one of the firefighters crushed by the rubble. Misu, who is driving a car, accidentally hears the news. She panics and shortly turns her car to go to the collapsed building. She is so afraid of losing Kang-il. After a long search, the rescuer finally found Kang-il and the man. They are both fine. Knowing that the news is broadcasted through the radio, Kang-il directly runs to meet Misu as he realizes that Misu must be worried about him. The story ends dramatically when Kang-il and Misu meet again. They hug each other tightly and look very grateful to meet again. They finally realize that they need and complement each other after going through several ups and downs in maintaining their relationship. They both learn to understand each other, although they have different perspectives on life. Judging someone from appearance causes nothing but discordance, as what's seen outside ain't reflect what's inside. Assumptions only reveal shallowness, beyond stereotypes lies humaneness. What do you think about their story? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.